So if you're listening to the show, you might know that I have been going through shit lately. And this really made me think that I would love to offer my group program, the Urban Cleanse group program. But this time I am part of the group. I would like to go back to losing the weight that I gained these past couple of years. And I would like to feel better in my own skin. And I know a lot of you do too. And I do know that my program does work if I only did it myself. So if you'd like to join, please go on www.Organilicious.ch, click on the Urban Cleanse button and join us. It'll be loads of fun. We'll do it together. I will be your support, your knowledge, as well as your team member. I'm looking forward to see you there. Thanks a lot. Hi, I'm Danna Levy-Hoffman, and welcome to the So Frickin Healthy podcast. Since last time Megan the scientist grilled me about my life, I figured I'd do the same. Join us as we learn more about my awesome co-host, where we chat about her own health journey, and we talk about what's to come. All right, let's get this show on the road. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Donna. How you doing?
I'm good. I've been looking forward to do you.
Oh, ooh, I'm going to get done. Get good and done.
So, as Megan mentioned before, we don't really know each other that well. We just clicked and decided we're going to jump into this crazy project of just starting a podcast together. And so what we're trying to do now is to introduce one another and find out more about one another. So, Megan, how's it going?
Ready, Donna. I'm ready. Fire, fire, fire.
Oh, you don't want me to fire. Megan, I want to know more about you. I know that you're a health coach. I know that we both graduated from IIN, which is pretty freaking awesome. We both did
the advanced gut health course.
That's the one. And I wanted to know a little bit more about you because I'm going to be spending a lot of time with you, which I love, but I want to know a bit more about you. I know that I'm the hippie and you're the scientist. But can you tell me a little bit more about why you are the scientist?
Ooh, yeah. I have one of those, I would say a little bit of a cool backstory. I think anytime that you're an expat from the US, people like to hear like why, how, when, what happened? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Do you miss your family? Oh, yes, of course. I miss my family. I miss my friends. So yeah, I'm a chemical engineer to start off with. So I'm definitely the data-driven, geeky side, a lot of our databases, and I want to know more. I want to know all the data about myself. And I've always been, I grew up with sports, as you are in the US. You grow up, you're either sports or you're not. So I was a sports, and I was always pretty healthy. I've never had any really traumatic things happen to me or anything like that. No chronic injuries, no health issues, which I find drive a lot of people to becoming a health coach, right? So that's not me. That's not me at all. But I started off and I've been working in the diabetes care industry for 17 years. So I've always kind of had that health related aspect, but really in a manufacturing setting as a scientist and quality and these other kind of topics that are a little bit more boring, but interesting in their own right. And obviously you need all of those things when you're dealing with medical devices. My day-to-day life has always had some kind of underlying health related topics because I work in the diabetes related industry. However, that brought me to Switzerland. So I was working for 5 years in the States for Bayer Healthcare and the diabetes care division. And then I got an opportunity to move to Switzerland when I turned 30. And that was like the time when all my friends were marrying and having kids. And I'm just like, not doing that. So, okay, I'm going to do that over there in Switzerland and send me pictures of your kids. And so I moved when my house was being renovated. The kitchen renovation was being done. I moved in a matter of 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
Just uprooted everything by myself, moved to Switzerland. Amazing experience. So obviously you can tell I'm a jumper. Ambiguity does not scare me at all. So I jumped. over here, the thing that kept the through line was though that my job, right? So I was still with the same company and working with a lot of the same people, but just in a new location, and really was able to spread my wings over here in Switzerland and explore hiking, because I'm from Indiana, where there is no such thing as a hike. You walk along the side of the road, and if you're lucky, you don't get hit by a car because there's no sidewalks. So this whole concept of being outside and walking somewhere and not having to drive was an amazing experience for me. But after a little bit of time here, I realized that the job that I was doing was not providing me with the spark or the level of, even though I was in the healthcare industry, right? I wasn't actually helping the customer directly, right?
Okay.
And we're still a big company. I felt very like 5 or 6 steps away from actually helping anyone. And I think that part really got to me the most. But I have ADD and I get distracted easily. So, a new job, good. And then I do my new job for 3 years. Okay, I want a new job now. Okay. And then, so I just kind of kept distracting myself with new things, with new locations, moving, finding my husband here, that he's a good distraction as well. So there's all these things that kept distracting me from kind of like understanding really what I really wanted to do. And it kind of came to a head in 2017. I was really ready to like, fuck this. I'm going back to the States, live in a van. I don't care. I was just done with work. It was kind of toxic to me at the moment. I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. This is not, like Switzerland had become routine because I'd been there 7 years already. So it wasn't new anymore. And if it hadn't been for my husband, honestly, I would have been just like, see you later, Switzerland, I'm out. But I knew I didn't want to do that. I like Switzerland and I love my husband. So I decided to stay and said, okay, I have to figure out something else. And that's when I started to look into being a nutritionist, because I thought with my chemical engineering background and my love of nutrition and health and sports and wellness, that nutritionist would be an interesting next step for me. But that's really a committed educational system where, it's basically college, university. You have to go back, you have to do this kind of full time to really make it work. Fortunately, IIN's marketing department does a really good job with their SEO. And so as I was searching for a nutritionist, up pops IIN, and I'd never even heard of a health coach before. Like I'd heard of life coaches and I thought, well, that's dumb. Why would I need a life coach? I have friends. They tell me what I should be doing, right? The concept of a health coach was like, what is this all about? Because I'd been a coach in the past, a sports coach though. And a sports coach is 180 degrees away from a health coach.
Yeah.
A sports coach is supposed to tell you what to do. They make your regimen, they tell you what to do, you practice it, but they have the plan, they have the vision, and then you execute as the athlete. And that is exactly not what a health coach does.
Exact opposite. Yeah.
Like, there to help you, but really it's your game, right? So I was really, really intrigued by this and the thought of I could do this while I was working. So that's what I did in 2018. I took the year-long course. I created my space here to really dig into that. I got super healthy that year. I lost a bunch of kilos because I was trying everything. Every 2 weeks, I was trying something new. But the point is, I think the point was that I was focusing on myself, right?
Yeah.
I was really like paying attention and awareness and learning about myself. So that also got me excited. And then I wasn't ready to quit my day job yet. That's a big step after you've been with the company for a long time. So I had some coaching clients on the side and did some public speaking and some corporate health convention days and things like that, and met a lot of really amazing people doing other kind of alternative therapies and other health coaches, and kind of kept myself in the world. But yeah, I was only ready basically now to say I'm done with corporate life and I'm ready to take the plunge, to do the work for myself thing. And that's really, wow, that how much time was that? That's my life.
No, it's awesome. I think that it's really, I think you're right. I think you do hear of a lot of health coaches kind of going into that sector because they're trying to heal themselves. So that's really, really true. And as I said last time, it is definitely what brought me closer. But I find that a lot of health coaches also have that kind of slight background interest, at least with health. You can't go from a sad diet to being a health coach just like that. It doesn't work. It doesn't resonate with a lot of people. So I do find it curious, but it does make sense. That passion to be a coach, whether it's like a sports coach, which is like, go, 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 like just kind of like, oh my God, okay, I'm scared of this person. I was I'm just saying that because in the Army, I was a drill sergeant.
Okay.
Which makes me laugh. Like my kids are like, oh, that makes sense. But I'm like, no, it really doesn't, because I didn't yell at people. And I was like trying to kind of like talk to them at eye level, because for fuck's sake, they're the same age as me. Like, who am I to yell at them, But I think that teacher hat, I think most health coaches did wear the teacher hat before and do have that passion of just understanding more, right? So for you, it was working with the diabetes industry, which is really interesting, especially since I, have diabetes in the family. I find it super, super interesting. And then having that kind of distance from people who you are actually helping and not even knowing them in a way. Yeah. I totally feel like, that completely makes sense, is to kind of want to know who you're helping and to want to know how you're helping and in what way. So that's really beautiful. Awesome. So we know why you came to Switzerland, which is a really fun story. I love that. What do you feel was kind of the most impactful moment or experience, either for a client or even for yourself, that you experienced since you became a health coach?
So obviously, I think what personally was very impactful was the year-long IIN coaching. Mm-hmm. Because effectively, as I was being trained on all these different theories and how to coach and things like that, I was being a coach. I was being coached, like I was effectively health coaching myself, which, like I said, had a big impact on my wellness. My blood pressure went down. It was just a real turnaround for me. I could just see, my skin was glowing and I was looking fantastic. I was feeling fantastic. So I definitely think that in the recent history, besides like my big move to Switzerland, obviously that uproots your whole life, IIN was a big game changer for me. But my first client, which I ended up having her for a year and a half as a client, and really the first one was a hit out of the park for me. And that's also really motivational when your client ends up telling you that she's never told anybody else these things before, that I've provided such a safe space for her that she can say something out loud that she's never said to anybody, not her husband, not her sister, not her mother, nobody. Mm-hmm. So that was impactful. But then near the end of our time together, it was that she said it took her 30 plus years, but she finally loves herself.
That's beautiful.
And that's really cool. Really, really cool. I mean, obviously she did the work, but her willingness to work with me and to have that journey with her, that's just amazing, and that's exactly that piece that I'm missing when you work in corporate life. I'm not saying all corporate life is bad. I mean, I had lots of great people in my corporate career, but to get to work with someone one-on-one and to see them grow and change, and those light bulb moments, even if it takes a while, because I think that's another thing people don't realize with coaching. It's not an overnight transformation. I worked with her for a year and a half, and she was still after transforming, even when we weren't working together. And I think that's the mark of a good coach, is to make sure that you give your client the tools that, help them learn the awareness, doing certain activities that foster that and grow that ability so that they can do it themselves. It's like teaching someone how to cook, right? So once you teach someone how to cook, can they still follow a recipe? Yes. Well, but teaching them how to cook intuitively, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to add some spice, but I should only add this much spice because I know that that's really potent, or, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's that kind of nuance with coaching is to really make sure that the client can cook for themselves intuitively, if you will, for the rest of their life. And and we still talk. Actually, later on today, I'm going for a walk with her to just chat, because she's such a, she's here, and I just love being with her. And we're not coaching anymore, but it's nice to continue to hear how her life is changing. And she always tells me, like, you had such a big impact. So, I mean, that's super nice to hear.
That's beautiful. And I totally agree. I think that in the society that we grew up in, especially kind of like that crucial kind of 80s, upbringing of quick fix, microwavable food, pill for every ill, like that kind of momentum of just everything needs to happen yesterday and everything needs to happen really quick and just give me a solution or a quick, diet. It's so important for people to understand that working with a health coach doesn't mean a quick fix, vice versa, because those quick fixes don't work. They never work, right? So working with us means that, it took you 30, 40, 50 plus years to get to the situation where you are today. Don't expect it to change overnight. But when you do work on it slowly in kind of a sustainable way, the results last. And that's the beauty of it. And I loved what you said about, her finally loving herself. I think that's the core of everything, every work with every client, because you can't give yourself the right fuel, whether it's food or energy or whatever it may be, if you don't love yourself. So I think that that's really like the number one, health coach 101. Let's work on self-love.
Yeah. Self-love. I mean, it's so cliche, right? Self-love, self-care, everybody's saying it. And then I think it kind of dilutes the meaning behind it, or maybe people don't really understand what that means, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't really focus on changing your eating habits if you don't give a shit about yourself. Why should you change your eating habits if you don't care what happens to yourself?
Exactly.
Right? And you have to care about your future self. That's the thing, right? You have to go, future Megan in 5 years from now is not going to remember laying in bed and not going to the gym this morning.
Yeah.
But future Megan, who's going to the gym every morning, will be so freaking happy and so freaking healthy because I went to the gym every morning, or I got my ass out of bed and went for a walk, right? It's like those micro decisions that you make every day that add up to your 5-year self from now going, thank you very much for making that small decision.
For sure. And aging is scary. I think aging is so scary. You see old people walking down the street completely hunched over and kind of like, and we are living in Switzerland. People, 90-year-olds are still like, hopping on mountains and stuff. And it was so funny to me when I moved here. We would take hikes. I was never a hiker. And we would take hikes and I'm like huffing and puffing. And these two like mega old people are just passing me double speed, like saying hello and passing me by. And I'm like, oh yeah, what are you on? You're just eating Bratwurst and cheese. Like, how are you even doing that? But it's true. It's like they have been doing it for so long. And so they have that, that ability to just get out of bed, and it's in them.
That's our hashtag retirement goals, is to be able to be out there all the time doing these hikes. Yes, that's definitely a goal that my husband and I have, to be those people passing young people and being like, see you later.
I know, right? Just kind of like walk by. I totally agree. And I think that I would just be happy not to be hunched over, to be fully honest. I'm like, I would just be happy to not rely on a walker. Something else that you said is really interesting to me, and I think it would resonate with a lot of people. You kept talking about the time that you did IIN in past tense of how you fed yourself better, you felt better, your skin was better. And so you were talking about it as if it was, for a certain amount of time.
Oh, Danna.
I'm saying it because I want to approach this.
Okay. I didn't know I was going to be coached today. I thought we were just interviewing me. But yes, so am I not in a good health position as I was in 2018? No. I mean, like I said, I am a data junkie. I have one of those scales that I stop on every single morning because I want to see how the data fluctuates. I want to know when my hormones are raging and I'm holding in water versus actually gaining weight. So I weigh myself every day, and I would be very happy to post my roller coaster weight graph on a future episode. It was a bit of a part of a health issue at the end of 2018. So I was really, like I said, doing quite well. But it was also in 2018 when I decided to have a hysterectomy. So I had what was called, or what is called endomyosis, which is kind of the opposite of endometriosis. So endometriosis is when the uterine tissue grows outside the uterus. It's connected to your other organs. And when you have your time of the month where your uterus is contracting, it can cause severe pain. And a lot of women go through surgery to remove the endometriosis. So I think a lot of people have heard of that. Endomyosis is where I have extra uterine tissue inside the uterine, and it's different than a fibroid. So a fibroid is another term that a lot of women might have heard because it's very common. And fibroids are masses that grow in your uterus, but endometriosis is really just more excess tissue. So it's not in the form of a mass. And this is something I had been expecting. My mother had a hysterectomy because of excessive blood. My grandmother had excessive menses as well. And I just knew at some point that was going to happen. So it started to affect my iron count. And it was really, when you live with it from the age of 13, and it just kind of starts sneakily getting worse and worse and worse and worse, like the frog in the pot getting boiled to death, right? You don't realize how much it's impacting your everyday lifestyle when you really have so much blood. And I didn't know how much blood I was having until I switched to a silicone period cup, Menses cup, the reusable ones. And I switched to that. And I could actually then start to calculate the amount of blood. And I was just like, I don't think that's normal.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to have kids. My husband and I are not doing that. And so
smart move, by the way, smart move.
It's a double, it's both ways, right? But in 2018, I was 39. I was turning 40 in 2019. And at that point, then most doctors are okay with having you do a hysterectomy because you're then close to anyway the end of childbearing years. At least in the US, my mom had to wait, I think, until she was 45 before a doctor would do that because they refuse to do it if you're in childbearing years, which is just, to me, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But so at the end of 2018, I was super healthy, super fit, and I had decided that that was a good time to do this. And I think what that did is just it was right before Christmas. I was laid up then. I really stopped. And then in January, the following year, I kind of relaxed. I didn't think about it anymore. I kind of had this huge break from my normal habits. It was like 6 weeks, right? Because in Switzerland, they give you all the time to heal, in the hospital for 2.5, 3 days, home for 6 weeks. Yep. Why did I move to Switzerland? Why do I not move to the US back? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, so I think when I was in this period of healing, I really just got out of all of those habits. I didn't pay attention to it anymore. I started back in at work, still not feeling good juju, ended up switching roles at work, which again, distraction, squirrel, right? So I just kind of fell out of it. My nephew came for 2 months that summer, that 16-year-old who just eats white bread and Haribo gummy bears. So it's all, I have the domain healthcoachconfessions.ch because I had intended to create a whole space where health coaches confess that they're never on the wagon 100%.
I love that. That's exactly why I asked you about this, because I feel like people look at us going oh, she's picture perfect. She makes sure. And I'm like, no one does. Not even us. No. Really not even us. And I consider myself almost slightly extreme of a health freak, a little bit. but we still go and eat our pizza and we still go and do this and that. And it's so okay. And I think the realization that it's okay makes a world of a difference. Right? Fuck that. I'm like, I'm feeling miserable right now. I'm on my period. I had a fight with my husband, whatever. We're hormonal human beings as women. And, what are you going to do? We are. And so that's one thing. And then life happens. And then there's vacation and there's this and that. So I didn't ask you to like kind of go like, oh, well, shame on you, Megan. Like, how could you? That's exactly the opposite. I think that people do need to understand that it's okay and that the future has nothing to do with our past. And we can always make that decision to go like, all right, well then tomorrow's another day. The next meal is another meal. And we can make an executive decision with every single bite.
Yeah, it is. And am I at where I want to be? Do I feel healthy? I would say I don't feel bad. But I also know that, like, for example, running outside for me is not a thing I can do right now. I'm at a weight that it will hurt my knees and my joints. So I run only on a treadmill where I can, I accommodate because I'm carrying extra weight. But I also don't feel that because I'm carrying extra weight, I can't be of service to somebody else. Because I also think that sometimes as a health coach, I know that you want to look to people for fitness inspiration and whatever, and, these inspo things. But sometimes it's nice to work with somebody who knows that, I'm carrying an extra 15 kilos around and it is affecting me. And, what am I going to do about it? And honestly, I just need a coach to tell you the truth, because even if I know it, and that's the thing, it's like, right? Like, remember when I told you earlier, like, why would I need a life coach, right? I have friends, right? Why would I need that? And I think that that's the very first thing. A lot of people come to me, or, they would say, well, I don't get a coach. I mean, coaching in general, and then a health coach, like, well, unless you're going to tell me what to eat, what to do, and what to run, and like which is what a personal trainer would do and a nutritionist would do, which is not what a health coach does. It's like, why would I talk to you? And it's like, well, part of it is because you're obviously, everybody knows. Yeah. So why don't you do it? Right?
Exactly.
Why are you not doing it, Megan? And that's where a health coach steps in, right? So, I mean, frankly, I just need to be more focused on myself and really think about it. And that's part of I think for me, it's also a struggle with ADD. If I don't see it, I don't do it. Like, if I don't, you know what I mean? Like, even my vitamins, if I don't put them out, I won't remember to do it. So it's a struggle all the time with certain things for me. So my husband, on the other hand, is completely responsible with everything he does. When he wants to do something, he does it and he never forgets. So living next to that as well is kind of like,
it's worse.
You can do it, but you can't compare yourself to anybody else.
No.
I can only compare myself to my 2018 me, that I said, look, I did it then. I know how to do it. What is holding me back right now from doing that? Is it an excuse or is it a real thing? Right? Because some of it to me is an excuse because I'm, the work I'm doing drains me. And then at the end of the day, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go out for a walk, even though it's beautiful weather. It's like, it's mental as well, right? I was depressed. The last couple of years, I've been depressed. I mean, a lot of people have been depressed in the COVID, but when I really look back at my time right before I went to IIM, I mean, my blood pressure was going up. I could feel anger inside me. And that was the first time in my whole life, sustained, right, over a long period of time, where every day I'd go to work and be like, I don't want to be here. I feel angry. Don't talk to me. And that's not me as a person. Anybody who grew up with me knew that that's not me. And so then you have to go, okay, what is the situation? What can I change about the situation? How can I move this around? But all of that is so much easier when you have somebody to help you, right? When you have somebody to talk to, because you can think it, which is, first of all, a good step to just take time 100%. To think about it. But if you have somebody that you can just be open and honest with, you don't have to worry about any judgment, which you will get from friends. Yeah, not consciously, but subconsciously, they will judge you. everybody judges everybody, right? But a health coach is really there to make sure that you have this place of non-judgment, that you can really go, okay, what's going on? Why do you think this is happening? What can you change? What can you not change? And it's just more about, helping that person guide through that situation in their life. And maybe that's the only time they need a health coach, is for that.
100%. And I think another really important thing to say is that what we expect from ourselves. So you're sitting there, I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking I should, work out 5 times a week, and I should eat really, really perfect, and I should do this and I should do that. So I have a list of things, right? But with a health coach, you don't do that. You will work with one small step at a time, which makes it a lot more doable, right? A lot less daunting and scary, and it also sticks better because it wasn't a million things and now I have to change my life 180 degrees. It's rather like, oh, how about I do 3 push-ups before I brush my teeth every day? Easy, right?
Just squat while you're brushing.
Yeah, while you're brushing. There you go. We're doing squats, by the way. So I think that's really, really important to say as well, because our expectations of ourselves, the way we speak to ourselves, is just terrible. And what we expect of ourselves, we would never expect anyone else. If your friend comes to you and says, oh, I need to work out more, and I need to lose my weight, and I need to eat better, and I need to sleep better, and I need to break up with my boyfriend because he's a dick, then you're not going to be like, yeah, okay, great, let's do all of that in one go. You're like, all right, well, let's take it one thing at a time, shall we, lady?
Go for a walk, relax, and then think about it logically. Let's go from there. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think that in that way, working with a health coach is so important, because we're putting things into perspective. We're putting things in kind of a chronological order that makes sense. If you're trying to eat better, but your sleep is crap, you will not eat better, point blank. Like, it is impossible. Okay. Our brain works differently. Your body works differently. You're just going to go for sugar and carbs. That is the way that it is, so just the understanding of all of that and really kind of working on it in a way that makes sense and in small sustainable steps, I think that makes a bigger impact than jumping into another yo-yo diet. And, 3 months later, you're like, yes, I lost all my weight. Let's go party with pizza and tiramisu. Yeah.
But I think that's kind of, coming back to the whole point of this podcast, right, is, from my perspective, even though we've been talking a lot about health coaches, this is not a health coaching podcast per se, but it's really, the idea is to be able to have this space where the 2 of us, and then, whenever we bring a guest in, where we can really talk about something that, as a listener, you may not have ever heard before, or you've heard, but you haven't really dove into because you don't have the time or the energy or understanding. And I think, as everyone is a unique individual, and everything you do has to be done for a data point of 1, an experiment of 1, which is you, right? And your data point, your experiment changes with time. So what worked when I was 25, because I didn't have to work at it, doesn't work anymore when I'm in my 40s. It's not one of those, destination things. It's like, okay, what am I need to do now that I'm in my 40s that I have to change? And what are the new tools that are available to me? What is the new science that's out there? That's what I found really amazing when I'm talking to my clients a lot of times. Basic science about how insulin and ghrelin work, and when you're actually burning fat versus burning sugar and carbs. Nobody knows this. They don't really understand how this works, and they don't understand how that impacts prediabetes and diabetes. Type 2, obviously. So, okay, I can pat myself on the back a little bit, because I find that people think that I explain those difficult scientific kind of biological processes in a very easy way to understand. So I do work really hard at that, because I also do a lot of training and facilitation in my role in the company. But then it's that light bulb moment. It's the like, oh, aha.
Now
that's
I get
why.
it.
That is why, or maybe that's why, right? So I think that's the whole point of the podcast, is like just to bring information in this fun kind of unique way of hey, this is my lens, this is your lens. It might be nothing that you're interested in, then you can skip, right? But it might be something that you find useful. And even if one person says that episode was awesome, thank you. Did it change your life? No. One episode's not going to change your life.
Hey, never say never.
Well, it could put you on the right path. It could start a little spark that then turns into a flame. But the work is, there's so many variables, so many things going on.
That's so true. That's exactly what's important to always keep in mind, is that there's never going to be perfection.
Yeah.
But just clinging on to the positive steps forward, grabbing one piece of information from each podcast and going like, maybe I should give that a try, is going to already impact you positively, because you can literally pat yourself on the back and say, I tried it. I kind of liked it, or I tried it and I hated it, but I tried it, which is a lot more to say about anything else. So I think that's really, really important to keep in mind. So Megan, I think I roasted you pretty bad. I did you pretty bad. But is there anything else that you want to share with us? Maybe something funny or silly, or I don't know.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's see. I don't know if it's funny or interesting, but it's a commitment, because I am a starter, not a finisher. So we are at the beginning of this wonderful podcast, this beautiful new relationship that we've clicked into so well. And I want to finish it. I want to keep this going. So it's kind of like more of a commitment device. I'm stating out loud to the listeners that I'm a starter and I'm going to need help finishing. So keeping going, because I love starting new things. I'm also a knitter. So this shows up physically with all my unfinished objects that I've knitted and stopped. I've been much better lately about this when it comes to it, because my husband is a finisher. So he guilt trips me into not starting a new project until I finish another one. But let's put it out there to, let's check back in on episode 50. Okay. And then I will make sure that I've committed to this. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but I think that's what was on top of my mind, is that I think I needed to say that out loud to the people, to all of you wonderful people who keep me accountable.
That's good, because honestly, and I've told you this, I think the first call that we had, I knew I've been wanting to do a podcast forever. I know you had a couple running as well. I've wanted to do a podcast forever. And I knew that if I would do it alone, I'd have max 5 episodes. And then I'd be like, yeah, screw this. Something else shiny came along.
I learned it. Now let's move on. Okay.
So I think that in terms of that, I think that that's where we're going to keep each other accountable. And that was exactly the goal of just getting a partner in crime who is fun and funny and curses just as much as I do. So we really do complete each other. And guys, if you don't like cursing, I don't know, just don't listen to our podcast. We love you still, but we are filthy mouths.
Bad as like every other word. It's used for emphasis. I feel like it's an exclamation point, which, yeah, maybe you don't want your kids listening to it, but
my kids curse more than I do. So we have a rule at home. You're allowed to curse as long as it's grammatically correct. So to walk around saying like freaking fuck shit, that, no, you don't get to do that. But if you have a full-on sentence and you're outraged and you want to say the F word, or you want to say whatever it may be, and it makes sense as a whole sentence, I'm like, kudos. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So we are filthy mouths. We curse a lot at home, but I feel like the kids got it. They got the gist.
But I think the other thing that will make this podcast successful is obviously the listeners, right? Because, when even with 2 people, even though we can talk to each other, but we are going to put this thing out there amongst literally hundreds of thousands of other shows, probably thousands of other specifically health related podcasts. And what makes it more fun for us, what keeps us going, is the listeners. I mean, I had a listener base obviously with my other podcasts, and I would get emails, and every single time I got an email, I'm like, oh my God,
someone's listening.
People are listening to this. What? I mean, like, That is awesome. So we want to make sure that you guys have voices. So we're going to keep giving you some information about how you can, send us some audio clips so we can get you on the show recordingly wise, and just giving us feedback. Like, what do you want to know? What is that one topic that you've heard over and over again at the water cooler? And you're just like, come on, spill the tea. What is it all about? So I think that that's also, for me, one of the most fun parts, and the community part of that, and really getting to know our listeners.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what we're planning on for you guys is going to be epic. We'll be interviewing a lot of great experts in different fields of health. So even if it's, money management, for me, that is definitely related to health. It could be anything across the scale. And we will definitely talk to you all about all the hype diets out there between keto and paleo and the carnivore diet.
Have you seen the raw carnivores? They only eat raw meat.
Right. So here we go. Another topic for another.
I mean, I like a good beef tartare and a good sushi, but I can't imagine eating raw meat all the time.
And just
it would be also so expensive.
Yes. Oh, in Switzerland. Oh my God, you'd be, living on the streets.
But that's all to come. We have all these really good, cool topics coming up. So thank you for diving into my soul of swimming around, doing a little fishing in there. Maybe, did you skinny dip in my soul? Because it feels like my soul has been skinny dipped in.
I always skinny dip. Did it poke? Did it hurt?
A little bit. The type of good pain.
Get it! Go! Feel the burn! Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for opening up, for letting us know what you're all about and who you are. I'm really tremendously looking forward to our next episodes to come, to get more experts going, to dive into really interesting topics. And until then, see you next time.
Yep. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you're still listening. Great. Okay, now I can tell you about my 12-week goal setting session. So in this 1-hour session, I'm going to help guide you through a powerful process inspired by the best-selling book, The 12-Week Year. I know. Everybody at this time of the year starts to think about year-long goals. And I would argue that year-long goals are really hard to contextualize. What is going to be happening in a year from now? You have no idea. But 12 weeks gives you a little bit better understanding, because you kind of already have your calendar booked out for the next 12 weeks, kind of know what's going to be going on. So if you can focus your goals on the next 12 weeks, you can make some really big actionable steps towards your long-term vision. So in this 1-hour session, we do talk about long-term vision. We talk about where you want to be. We talk about what your 5-year, 10-year, 3-year, all those goals are. But that's only a brief part. We know, we see the long distance view, but let's break that down. And then we get into the 1 to 3 strategic 12-week goals that are going to get you to those long-term vision. Then we're going to put that into a really cool action plan with like checklists and timing and all that jazz to make sure that you are clear and that you have accountability to get those goals done. And then that's not it. Then we are going to tackle your roadblocks, because you have roadblocks. So we're going to tackle those roadblocks. We're going to create a plan to overcome them. So when you start to self-sabotage, what you can do to get around those roadblocks. Okay, so if this is interesting for you, it is only 1 hour of your time and it's only 45 Swiss francs. I host this gig over on Fiverr, but I'm also going to put a link down in the show notes. So if you're interested, hit me up.